Welcome to the official YouTube channel for me, the Colin Cowherd Podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of our football content this postseason. Going to have instant reactions after every big game. Thanks. Well, and what has to be considered a shocker, a 10-point underdog, Washington with a rookie quarterback goes into Detroit and hammers the number one seeded Detroit Lions. Let's just cut to the chase. Jayden Daniels is easily the best rookie quarterback in the history of the National Football League. I remember John Elway, barely. I think he played 10 or 11 games. He had twice as many interceptions as touchdowns, losing record. I think they were like 4-6 or 4-7. Vaguely remember it. Andrew Luck, you got some real upside. I thought Andrew Luck was the best rookie quarterback I'd ever seen, 11-5 with a really weak roster. But you got mistakes. You got mistakes with Andrew Luck. I mean, until the very end, he was somebody that, he'd take big swings and throw the ball into traffic. Mahomes didn't have to play as a rookie until the last week, and he had an excellent roster, or a very good roster. Lamar Jackson didn't play until week 11. It was Baltimore's roster. This is a average roster. One really elite weapon. Austin Eckler's a nice find, but this is not an elite roster. And Washington's in the NFC Championship. Now, next week, Philadelphia defense, Rams defense, whichever they face, much, much better. Due to injuries, all this stuff, you guys know, Detroit's not a very good defense. This is why I stayed away in my Blazing 4 this week. I stayed away from this game, and it was just Jayden Daniels. I thought even if Washington was outplayed, they'd backdoor cover. I mean, in the first half, 8-play drive, 10-play drive, 11-play drive, you're like, whoa, what am I watching? I've just never seen anything like this. His poise is unprecedented. I'm serious on this. C.J. Stroud was excellent as a rookie. But this kid's ability to he's like Lamar Jackson. He's a little bit of a running back. He's not quite as dynamic as Lamar the runner, but he is so twitchy and so quick. His instincts on running plays are insane. He's patient, but can dart in and out of traffic. He can be simultaneously sudden and patient. Some guys are just, and he's got that Patrick Mahomes thing where some guys are just operating above the shoulders. They're unnatural. And you can coach up all players, but you're not going to take a B-minus athlete to an A-plus athlete. There's always been this belief in sports, basketball, football, baseball, you can't jump a full grade on coaching. Coaching can take B-plus to B-minus to B-plus, but it's hard to jump a grade. A B athlete will never be an A to an A-plus player. Some of this is just, and I remember watching him when he was Arizona State freshman. He was so skinny. And then I remember watching him at LSU and thinking, man, it just looks so easy. That's the same thing I felt when I watched Michael Jordan. I can remember watching Michael Jordan years and years and years ago play the Phoenix Suns in the NBA championship. And I said, how many guys in this league are 6'6", stronger than Michael? I mean, he had big hands, Kawhi Leonard-sized hands. He could palm the ball and do some stuff. But I'm like, there's a lot of six guys with a good mid-range game. Jordan made it look so easy. He dropped 29 in a playoff game. And it was like, he'd have two little surges, but the game was so easy. I mean, Jayden Daniels, I've never seen anything like it. As far as Detroit, they got too cute at the end. This is what I said about Ben Johnson all year. He would flex. And again, it's easy to flex against the Bears. But when you're trailing in a big game, Goff is already been, fuzzy. You just had a big play to Patrick before that. Just get down the field and score. Don't get tricky. You were moving the ball. And that's why I said all year, I like Ben Johnson, but these big standalone Lions games, I feel like he's flexing a little bit, and it came back to burn him, though I didn't think they were winning this game anyway. I have reams of notes from this, and they all look the same. I mean, God, in the first half, Jayden Daniels, 14 to 21, 242 yards and two TDs and 36 yards rushing, or 30 yards rushing in the first half on the road. Wow. It's for the record, the NFC North, which looked like the best division in football, 0 and 3 in the playoffs. Packers lose, they unravel at the end. Darnold unraveled at the end. Lions unraveled at the end. So, regular season and playoff football, two different things. It was also Lions had a -4 turnover margin. Now, I'm doing this right before the game ends, so if there's a turnover late, I'm not seeing it. But I just felt Detroit was off the entire game. Goff sailed a couple balls early. Yes, he got hammered, cheap shot, not called, went to the tent. He was off. I thought, I felt Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury came in. Cliff Kingsbury is such a good coordinator. He's just so clever. And I talked about this Friday on TV and radio. Some guys are just great twos. To be a number one, sometimes you got to have about 10% jerk. Kingsbury doesn't have that in him. Sometimes you have to make tough calls. You got to fire coaches you like. You're basically coaching coaches. You don't want to be too close to the players. And Kingsbury's kind of like a player and an extension of the players. And in Arizona and in college at Texas Tech, Steve Keim loved him, hired him, considers him a friend. And he said, listen, he's such a nice guy, such a smart guy that, head coaching, sometimes you got to be rough. And it's not really a criticism. It's just Cliff Kingsbury is a tremendous, tremendous offensive designer, play caller, and he put on a clinic tonight. I feel bad for Detroit. I really thought a Detroit Buffalo Super Bowl had a real shot. I'm taking the Bills to get to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. They're underdogs at home tomorrow against Baltimore. So it's crazy that you watch football during the regular season. I mean, in September and October, if you go back to those Lions games, they were crushing people. It was like collegiate. They were just hammering teams. And then they just slowly started to fall apart. And that coaching staff did a great job to keep the energy and the spirit up. But you get to playoff football and you're getting the best coaches, the best coordinators, the best quarterbacks, and everything changes. There's real pressure. Lions don't face real pressure in week 11. Here we are at home, off a bye. Kansas City, the Chiefs did not have a good first half, off a bye with Andy Reid. The Lions didn't play well, off a bye. I think for some reason in football, it just doesn't work. I just don't think it's a huge advantage. You get into a certain rhythm. It's like a baseball playoff. You play every day, and then all of a sudden now you're in October, and it gets chilly, and you're not playing. In baseball, you play in summer weather, and you play 5 out of 6 nights. Then sometimes you get into the playoffs, the weather gets cold. It's kind of football weather, and you're having these gaps. And some players and teams just don't respond to it as well. So I think the buys didn't do Detroit any favors. But listen, man, the way Jayden Daniels is playing, I mean, my notes, I take just to show you during these games, I just take notes and I'm just writing down stuff. And so when I come in here, I'll gaze. There was a clever flex in the third quarter by the Lions on the double shuttle. That was a moment where I thought, okay, they're gaining some momentum, but they can never make stops. And Washington was the team going for it on fourth down, not Detroit. And I mean, I don't know if Dan Quinn, I'm sure teams are looking at Dan Quinn and they're saying, man, he's gutsy going for it on 4th and 2. I don't really think he is. I just think if you have Jayden Daniels on 4th and 2, I mean, Dan Quinn fell in love with this guy in camp. He and Cliff Kingsbury in camp just kept pouring out compliments. We've talked about this, and it was weird. It's like, he's a rookie. What are you doing? Like, bring the expectations down. Dan Quinn couldn't help himself. He's like, this kid's unbelievable. You can't believe this. Zach Ertz on my show last week. Washington Commanders, he had a touchdown. Commanders tight ends. Like, you're just watching this guy in camp, and you're like, what am I watching? This kid is all time, and it's so great. The NFL is so much fun. Football in general is so much fun when quarterback play is good. And over the last several years, we've gotten, a Joe Burrow, a Patrick Mahomes, a Lamar, a Jayden Daniel. It's just great. You're getting a historically talented kid. And I am just struck by his demeanor. I've said this all the time. Most great quarterbacks are really adults. You can hear it during the broadcast with Brady. He's often talking about, oh, I hate to see that. This is a big play. You've got to be buttoned up. So much of it is just maturity, intelligence, awareness. And Jayden is just sitting there, and it's like the game is already slowed down. Patrick Mahomes said that the game slowed down to him his third year. And that's generally what the great quarterbacks say. Everything slows down. It's slow now for Jayden Daniels. You can see. How about in the fourth quarter when Detroit brings a pressure package and he is going to get smoked? And his third receiver, nope, nope, boom, a seed and gets popped. That's just not normal for rookie quarterbacks. That's just not the way it is. So, God, I'm I feel so bad. I have family. My wife's from Birmingham, Michigan, and her family, and I got them tickets this year to a Lions game, and they were so grateful, and they're such wonderful people. And this is just a gut punch. My friend Doug Myro, who is on a project I'm working with right now, a writing project for a TV show. Oh, I can't even text him. I feel so bad for him. This is a rough one. It's different. Buffalo has been disappointed for years, but there's been a lot of really good Buffalo teams through the years. I mean, years, and the Marv Levy team, year after year, Jim Kelly, and this Buffalo run. Detroit, horrible forever. And then back to back years, you're like, oh boy, they're close. And you watch them tonight, and they're going to lose Aaron Glenn. I think Aaron Glenn, I'm going to just throw this out there. I think he's got a real shot to get, I think he has a chance to get the Cowboys job. I really do. He's really respected, and Ben Johnson's going to get one of these jobs. Keep your eye on the Raiders job. So this Detroit team, remember, Nick Sirianni gets to a Super Bowl, loses coordinators, hires two more, and they don't look good. So Dan Campbell's not a scheme genius, right? Like Andy Reid can lose coordinators, McVay loses coordinators, Shanahan loses coordinators. Those are scheme guys. They're fine. There are coaches, Nick Sirianni is one, loses coordinators and replaces them with inferior coordinators, and it gets ugly fast. So Dan Campbell's not really a scheme whiz. So he's going to lose both of his coordinators, and this could have been the year. This could have been it. I want to read you a couple of stats on Jayden Daniels. He's the best rookie of all time at quarterback. That's unprecedented. First ever top three pick to make a conference championship in the rookie season. First rookie quarterback to win multiple road playoff games when his defense gives up 20 plus points in each game. 12 regular season wins, historically great in the fourth quarter. I mean, what more do you need to say? Yeah, that's not to say Detroit's going to go into the tank, but like Philadelphia, very good roster, had the right coordinators for a coach we kind of wonder about. Sirianni's built up a good culture. Same with Dan Campbell, not scheme guys. Then they lose great coordinators and they take a dip. So fortunately, Philly and Detroit had such dominating offensive lines and some really, really high-end players on the defensive and offensive lines. They're not going to turn into a 5-win team, but Green Bay's getting better. Minnesota, J.J. McCarthy. Chicago should get a better coach. NFC's getting better. So I could see the Lions losing both coordinators, dipping a little bit. The O-line and their running backs and Goff will keep them very, very good. Great, though. I thought this team was great until they got banged up, and now the season's over. NFL is cruel. How would you like to be Jerry Jones and in the next 10 years face Jayden Daniels 20 times minimum? We thought the Cowboys were going to regress when the season started. Now look at what they have to face. You think the New York Giants are wobbly? Try 20 times against Jayden Daniels in the next decade. He says, no, thank you. Palisades Forever is a community-driven initiative led by lifelong residents to help the area recover and rebuild after the devastation of the California wildfires. Palisades Forever focuses on restoring the spaces that matter most to the community: schools, landmarks, businesses, and recreational areas, bringing life back to the heart of the Palisades. 100% of the proceeds go directly to already established local charities and organizations working on long-term beautification and restoration efforts in the Palisades. Visit palisadesforever.com to donate or purchase merchandise today. A closing thought. It's official. Only one team hasn't made the NFC Championship game since 2010. How about them Dallas Cowboys? Yep. 1995, last time they made it. Good luck against Jayden Daniels.
I judge the quality of a fragrance by the compliments you get. When I wore Ovation for the first time, second time, and third time, usually I walk past somebody and they're like, hey, what you got on? Who over there smelling good? Yeah, you know, that's the injection of confidence right there to you.
That's right. We want to be at the forefront of using the brand as a gateway for these young athletes. Custom suit, we do a photo shoot, we do video, and it's all about that partnership to create a personal brand.
And I love you guys associating it with more sophistication. Throwing a suit on a kid, sometimes it takes for you to see yourself with a suit on in the mirror to be like, hey, I have more to offer.
Ovation for Men, we're part of Amazon's Black Business Accelerator. You know, Amazon has invested $150 million for the next 4 years to uplift small businesses like myself to scale. You know, Amazon is really putting their money where their mouth is.
They're committed to excellence on every level. They want to scale these businesses to be amongst the best in whatever industry they're in.
You've always been authentic. You've always been pushing excellence.
Well, I appreciate that.
As our slogan says, every man deserves an ovation.
Yes, sir.
Listen, this relationship with Ovation for Men, Richard Sherman, the volume, this is just the beginning.
I appreciate you guys letting me be a part of your journey. If you haven't already checked them out, go out there, get your man some. Get the sport too. And it can be Christmas, birthday, holidays, or yesterday. But make sure you get it.